I'm like kind of like stunned, but like getting teary-eyed, and we're all just like, oh my God, this is amazing. The girl that was sobbing, she said, in my meditations, like, this is what I saw, that I was being told that I was chosen for the Coherence Healings.
Hello and welcome back, guys.
Welcome back.
This week you've got me back from the hospital, back at home,
Yay.
and Biz is in Mexico.
Yes. Both thriving separately, but together.
True. And we look sun-kissed today, which means we're doing something right.
Yeah. Alex, why don't you, the last we saw you were in the hospital, looking really great, but, not feeling the best. Why don't you give us an update of, when was your hospital discharge? How is it like being home? All the things.
Yeah. So in true chronic illness, spoony fashion, invisible illness, looked good, felt like ass. It was an 8-day hospital stay. Quite honestly, probably the worst medical care in hospital I have ever received to date. The primary team just did not know anything about autoimmune or chronic conditions or pain. And it was heartbreaking having to advocate to the degree that I was. I started IVIG in the hospital, and miraculously that really worked within 3 days. I was able to walk again. I could use my right arm again, my right hand again. But the worst side effects I have ever had from any medication.
For those people tuning in for the first time, what is IVIG and what was your treatment like?
So IVIG is essentially like 20,000 healthy people's immunoglobulin. And the thesis is if I put that in my body, it'll train my immune system to respond and react appropriately, which is not attacking itself. I'm autoimmune, and so that's what my immune system kind of naturally trends to do is, try to kill myself, which is great. And IVIG is supposed to stop that whole process. It did not help my vasculitis, but it did help small fiber neuropathy and the CRPS, which is a pain condition that I have, which none of us thought that would happen. There's like zero literature on that happening. So I was really pleased with that.
Good. That's awesome.
Yeah. But unfortunately, they ran it against what the doctor's script said. So you're supposed to like ease into the rate that this medication is administered.
Okay.
They ran it 4 times faster than what he said at like the max dose possible.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be like a 6 to 8 hour infusion. They did it in 2 hours or less. They're supposed to give fluids beforehand and after. Did not do that. So day 2, I had like a thunderclap migraine that was the worst migraine I've ever had for 50 hours. My neck got stiff. I couldn't turn my head left or right. Nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, like every 30 minutes.
Yeah.
It was tough. It was really, really tough. But it worked. So I'm really grateful. But I am petrified to do it again.
Did you have a lot of anxiety during it? Because I know like anytime I have like new symptoms or new medication, the anxiety builds a lot. And this sounds like all of these things at one time, like sounds really scary.
I think I would have had anxiety if my head did not hurt as bad as it did.
So you couldn't think of anything else?
It felt like my brain had just gone to mush.
Oh my gosh.
Like headache was through the middle of my head and then all the way back behind both eyes, sensitive to light, sensitive to sound, sensitive to temperature. And honestly, for the last week, I've had a headache that's just been residual.
Yeah. So did they tell you like the headache is a common symptom of this? Okay. So at least you knew that like this isn't out of the norm for the medicine.
It wasn't out of the norm, but the degree of the migraine that I had definitely was out of the norm. And I'm still thinking that I could have had aseptic meningitis, which is a side effect of IVIG. The primary team refused to do any looking into that because they said there's no way that I had meningitis. And I was like, I understand that, but that is a side effect of IVIG. And I have all the symptoms of it. It was really tough. I mean, the hospital system was down, so like the communication was poor. But it was an all-in bad experience for a drug that worked really well.
Yeah. Did your doctor end up coming to see you during your hospital stay or no?
They did, but then it was the weekend when I started this treatment. And so it was like the weekend staff, ETC, and mostly just like residents and med school students that were rounding on me, which I'm glad that they're learning. But when you're starting a new medication and in an immune breakdown, you kind of need someone that is really savvy in what they're doing.
Yeah. I've had the same experience where, so UCSF, which is where I get my care, it's like a teaching hospital, med school, all of that, right? So a lot of times, like, there'll be residents and what are those called after residency?
Fellows.
There's residents and fellows. And so if I'm feeling fine, I'm like, totally good with them being in the room and like them, taking the lead on things. When I'm not well, I'm like, can you get me someone that's done with the program? Like, I cannot be like a test subject right now.
Yeah. And I think that that's reasonable. I think it's really hard to say that in the moment, but it's important to do that because when you're not feeling well, you need someone that has the expertise. We're not there to suffer. We're also not there just to teach people about our diseases. We're there to get treatment. And so it's reasonable.
I think it's totally fine to be like, hey, like, you can stay in the room, but can you get, one of the other more experienced doctors to come in, and you're welcome to shadow and stay in there. So that way they're getting their experience, but you're getting the care that you need.
I absolutely agree with that. I do that a lot when I have to get prednisone or like steroid injections into the nodules in my feet. If it is a light flare up, I'm like, yeah, resident, you can totally practice and give me this shot. If it's a really bad flare up, I'm like, no, I've had too many bad experiences of residents putting it in the wrong area, XYZ, and then I just ask for my like normal doctor to do it. And I think that's a really good thing to do.
I think so too. And I think related to that, like, so I get like my blood drawn constantly. So like they have these amazing, what are they called? Lobotomists?
Phlebotomists? Lobotomy is, I'm pretty sure, where they like nuke your brain.
Oh, or is that a plant doctor? Or not doctor, plant person? I actually don't know. So anyways, the people that put
phlebotomy,
the needles,
I think.
Phlebotomy. So the people that take your blood, you can do the same thing with that. I think just be like, I want someone experienced to come do it. And if they look like they're like kind of like looking around trying to find a good vein, like you should just be like, can I get someone else to come do it? Or you should also ask, I realize, like, you can ask for a smaller needle.
Yes, butterfly needle.
So if you have smaller veins, you can just go ahead and request that and just be like, listen, in the past, like, that's worked better for me. And then they'll just use a smaller needle for you.
Absolutely. And if you have hard to stick veins, ask for a heating pad. They can do a numbing spray. They can use a like red light vein finder.
Yes, that is so cool.
Yeah. So don't sit there and get poked 4, 5, 6 times. If they flub up once or twice, ask for the good stuff.
Yeah. There's plenty of people that they can practice on, so you don't always have to be that person.
Yeah, totally. I absolutely agree.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. So tell me a little bit. So you came home. How has that been being home? Like, how was the feeling of sleeping in your bed for the first time after 8-9 nights?
So freaking good. I think it's crazy, but anytime, and I know you probably feel this way too, but like anytime you come home from a hospital stay, every tiny thing you become so incredibly grateful for. Like, we've had this couch since college. I hate this couch so freaking much. It's dirty, it's old, it's gross. And I've spent so many times recovering from chemotherapy or immunotherapies on it. Sitting on that couch, I was like, I'm going to cry. I'm so happy right now. Getting home-cooked meals, being able to be with the dogs. I slept so hard for the first, 5 days. And then I'd say now I'm starting to, deal with the trauma that I experienced in the hospital, which ranged from the IVIG stuff to the pain management, mishandling, and whatnot. Update on that front, I talked to the chief resident at Del Seton, and they did a discussion with the care team that handled my case and did a reteaching on 101 opioids and pain management and why CRPS is not managed with the bullshit protocol they tried to put on me and why palliative care was called. So I'm really happy that was listened to and is being used in a helpful way.
That's awesome. I'm so glad that you were able to follow through on that and make sure that that teaching came around and people know how to treat someone in the future with it.
I think it's just really important to me. I think it's also really empowering and you can overcome these really tough moments when you do something about them instead of just sit in the shitty part of it.
Yeah. Totally.
But since then, I've had all my follow-up appointments. I started going on 10-minute walks again. I'm still having pain. I start Rituxan in a few weeks, and I'm excited to just get back on the horse, get through this, XYZ. But enough about me. I have been so excited, Biz and I have held off from catching up on her amazing retreat last week.
I know. That part has been so hard.
Oh, so hard. I've been like, tell me everything.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'll talk to you when we record.
Yeah. So, set the
Yes.
stage for us. How are you? What has the days following the retreat been like? And then let's dive into all things Joe Dispenza.
Yes. So the retreat ended this past Sunday. I was there for a week or 8 days. And now I'm kind of in this, like, what I call like a halfway house. So,
Okay.
when you get released from prison,
Yes.
they send you to these little homes, and then you kind of like readjust to society before you enter back into the real world. So I would
Yes.
say, like, I'm currently in my halfway house. I'm in this little island off of the Cancun area of Mexico. It's called Holbox.
Ooh.
But I'm here with one of my good girlfriends, Dina.
Love
She
it.
wanted like a nice little beach vacation. We're actually joking. It's like kind of our little honeymoon that we're on right now.
That's so cute.
But it's just been really nice and relaxing. Like, I've done a couple of meditations while I've been down here.
Good.
And just like pool time, having good food, going to the beach, and kind of just like letting things sink in of what happened last week at the retreat.
Amazing. I'm so happy that you're taking this like kind of bookend time to absorb everything and figure out like how you want to integrate all of this into your life.
Yeah. I think it would have been tough to just go back to San Francisco and like go back to like the normal routine. So I'm glad I'm getting this little in-between little phase. And then this weekend I'm headed to my favorite place, Houston. Sarcasm is there if no one gets that. But I have one of my best friends. It's her baby shower. So I'm super excited to go and be there for that. Houston for me just always has some not great associations with it, as I know it does for you as well. But it's nothing against the people there. Well, some people, but it's not
Maybe
against
some people.
Not against the entire city.
Man, I actually like love that you're doing this halfway home experience. Maybe that's what I should have done after the hospital.
Like a hotel, maybe?
Yeah, like a hotel for a day or two.
That would have been nice. Yeah.
Things to keep in mind for next time.
Yeah. You can take all of your, Alex was just telling me before we started recording that she took a bunch of stuff from the hospital, like wipes and things like that. So I was just cracking
Such a
up that
klepto.
Yeah. I mean, I would get it if it's like a nice spa that you go to and you're like, let me take like the lotion and like the face stuff. But you're like taking like hospital wipes, basically.
These really nice Medline tissues, since I have had a bloody nose for the last 7 days, 24/7.
I mean, sad for the bloody nose, but good for the wipes.
Great for the wipes. So lovely. And all of their like amazing shampoo products are so non-toxic and great for your skin.
Did you end up taking one of those, the shower cap things that they
Yes, of course.
have? That I feel like is cool.
That one is cool. And like on a
Yeah.
low spoon day, I could see myself genuinely using that.
Yeah, I think so.
Can we dive into Joe?
Let's do it.
Okay. So maybe set the stage. Who is Joe Dispenza? What's his story?
Okay, so Joe Dispenza is, so he's a doctor. He's an author. He's a speaker. And so he basically, his whole shtick is like the mind-body connection and self-healing. So the way that he got into it is that back in his, like, I think 20s, he was in this really horrific biking accident. And he had compression fractures in like 6-7 of his vertebrae.
Oh my
and
God.
this is like back in like, I think like the 80s, 90s, when like spinal surgeries like weren't that well understood or practiced. And so it was a really like risky surgery that he was told that he has to have. And so he decided that instead of going forward with the surgery, he was going to heal himself. And so through meditation and visualization, he was able to fix those compression fractures in his spine and was able to walk and do all the things. So his like work is around like how like thoughts and beliefs can change your like physical reality. He's also written like a number of books. He's written, there's one called You Are the Placebo. There's another one called Being Supernatural. He leads like all these like workshops all over the world. And I would say like what also differs him from other people is that it's not just like the woo-woo like meditation, spiritual stuff. Like there's actually like science behind it. And so I think that was definitely one of the big things that's drawn me to him is that there's like a science data component to his teachings.
I love that. What are some of the things that he like tracks from a science standpoint to gauge how it's working?
Yeah, so he does like brain scans.
Okay.
So at the retreat that I was at, there wasn't a research component to it. Like they weren't conducting research while there. But otherwise, he does brain scans. He looks at people's like CTs, MRIs, like people that have cancer. They look like their scans before, their scans after.
Cool.
And what else does he track? Like heart rate monitors, those things that you put on your brain that measure brain waves. He does that as well. So
EEG
basically, like when you're
like
meditating, they're able to see like when is your brain going into different states.
Wow, I love that he does that because it makes it inarguable that meditation works.
Yes, exactly.
And I'm sure when he had his accident, like there obviously is a component that like time obviously does help heal things.
Yeah.
And then there's the component that he was able to help his body heal and to isolate that like over the time that he's presented his findings and whatnot and really narrowed in like how to solidify, isolate these variables and then thus show meditation is a key driver for healing is crazy cool.
Yeah, totally. I know that you have some experience with him as well. Like, why don't we talk a little bit, like, how did we both, like, separately, like, get introduced to him and, like, what's our experience with his work?
Yeah. So last year, 2 years ago, I hit a wall with my Western treatment, and that's when I turned to anything functional, energy healing, like truly anything that was not Western medicine. I wanted to give it a full shot. I found an energy healer in Austin. She does quantum energy healing, and had a first session with her that was so trippy that when I got home, I was like, I have to look more into this. And that's when I stumbled across Joe Dispenza, bought his book, Becoming Supernatural, started reading it, and I was like, huh, I mean, this all makes total sense. And then I started integrating it into my life. So doing meditations, keeping up with Reiki or quantum energy healing. And then when you got sick, I remember talking to your husband, Farouk, and we were like, Bisma's going to love this when she's ready for it. And I remember still the day that you called me and you were like, have you heard of Joe Dispenza?
Yeah.
And I was like, yes!
I think you were like, yes, I have. And you're so excited. And like, that's actually, yeah. So I remember like I got into it because my husband, I think it was like soon after I was diagnosed, like I was still in the hospital. So in the beginning, it was like, everyone was telling us so many things like, okay, like read this, talk to this type of doctor, eat this, don't eat this. And so that was one of the things that got brought up during that time is my husband was like, hey, like you should look into this guy, Joe Dispenza. And at that time I just wasn't ready. I was just literally trying to survive and like get out of the hospital. And, but I remember my husband always had like the book Being Supernatural sitting on his bedside table. And, it was at some point that I kept seeing the book and I picked it up one day and started reading it and was like so engrossed in it. I was like, this is crazy. And then I read his other book, You Are the Placebo. And then I started doing his meditations. And more, I think when I was reading the books, I was like, this is not just like spiritual, there's science behind it. And so I just love that aspect of it. And I would say like now, like before going to the retreat and after going to the retreat, I have a very like different experience with meditation even. I thought I was a good meditator before. And I've learned so much more about it now.
I love that. Before we dive more into what that change was like, I want to double click on the science part of it.
Yes.
Maybe we can give our listeners like a little quick 101 on what quantum energy is and like why the science is real.
Yeah.
So in quantum energy and quantum physics and mechanics, there is this idea that there's two particles that when they are on the same path going towards each other, they can actually have an entanglement where they switch places and then continue on the path that the other one was going on. So in that idea, your reality and a slightly different reality of yours can combine and kind of switch places. So maybe you're sick in this one, you're not sick in a different one, all of these realities stacked on top of each other, something switches in it, and you become a little bit less sick in your reality, and you're on a new trajectory. It sounds woo-woo. There's some great YouTubes about this that make it, seem way more legit than a finance girly trying to pretend like she knows quantum physics. We'll link those up this week. But that's the thesis behind this, is that, like, our consciousness is able to have these micro, nano, quantum switches that allow for us to have access to a different reality, essentially. Did you guys learn about, like, have teach-ins or anything like that during the retreat where you were learning about, like, the physics side of it?
Yeah, totally. So,
cool.
so let's do this. Let's go logistics on the retreat.
Yes, perfect.
So I guess taking another step back. So the retreat itself, so he holds, like, let's say, like 5-6 of these, like, throughout the year, and this is his week-long advanced retreat. So he also has these progressive retreats, which you can do an online course of. So, like, one of the prereqs for going to the advanced week-long retreat is that you do a progressive retreat online. And that's about, like, let's say, like 25 hours or so of, like, lectures and meditations combined together. Probably like 20 hours of lectures and like 5 hours of meditation is a split of that.
Got it.
So you do one of those progressive online retreats first, and then you go to his week-long advanced retreat, sorry. And it's so it's 5-6 times a year. Cost-wise, I would say, so it's not cheap. It's the one I went to was $2,500 for the entire week. For the registration fee, and then on top of that, you're paying for your hotel, which was about like $1,500 or so for the week, and then, let's say, like, flight is like another $1,000. So, like, all in, this is probably going to cost around like $5,000 to attend. So definitely not cheap. It's definitely a commitment. I think the price point is actually, like, I'm sure they've done research and data around it, but I think it's like that perfect sweet spot of, like, it's expensive enough that, like, it's only going to draw in people who really want to be there and who really want to do the work, but it's not so outrageous that, a person can't, like, save up to go to it.
Absolutely. And they do have some, like, financial aid if you're interested in that.
Yeah, and then there's actually, like, organizations that offer scholarships for it. And things like that. And to be honest, I think that's something that, like, hopefully in the future that the Not So Sick Chicks can try to start incorporating.
Oh, that would be amazing.
That would be awesome to be able to send other people to this.
Yeah, hands down. I would love to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, amazing. So that's kind of the logistics of it. You do this retreat. You get interviewed by a nurse or a health professional.
Correct.
What did that look like? What was the goal of that?
Yeah, so before you attend, they have you interview with, like, a nurse. It's like a Zoom meeting, and you go over any, like, health issues you're having or any accommodations you may need during that time. So during my Zoom session, I expressed how, I have metastases in my spine, all over my upper body, and my pain levels, etc. And so they said to help accommodate. So you're in these, like, imagine like a conference room or events place, and they basically just have, like, rows of chairs set up. So they have those traditional, like, banquet style chairs. And so they said, because of my back issues, that they would help accommodate by having a zero gravity chair for me. And so, by the way, it's not the zero gravity chair that you're thinking of from, like, a nice spa. That's, like, the whole...
Was it comfortable, though?
It was still way more comfortable than a regular chair.
Okay.
So most of the meditations you're doing sitting up, and then there's, like, a laying down component of it.
Okay.
And so these zero gravity chairs, you can recline them to where you're basically completely flat.
Nice.
So that for me was super helpful because there's no way I can, like, lay on the ground.
No.
For an extended period of time.
Did you bring blankets or anything else to, like, put on the zero gravity chair?
Yeah. So my pillows, of course, which I'd never leave home without. So my Comfy Life pillows, one for my seat, one for my back, and then I had a blanket with me. What other people brought was interesting. So, like, lots of, like, sleeping bags / like mats, like yoga mats.
Interesting.
Or like those inflatable they're like inflatable mattresses, but like small, like individual size. So a lot of those, and like basically like when the meditations would start, people would spread out all over the event center, like on the, like outside of the aisles, people would set up in the corners along the perimeter of it.
Cool.
So it kind of looked like a camping ground. And it kind of felt a little bit like, I haven't been to Burning Man, but I felt some sort of like relation to it, is in the sense like people would kind of like barter and like, not barter, but like
support each other.
Share things. Yeah. Support each other. So like I didn't have socks with me one day. And so, you know, I wanted to take my shoes off during the meditation. So it was cold in the room. So one of the girls next to me was like, oh, like I have an extra pair of socks. And I was like, oh, great. And I was like, do you need an eye mask? I have an extra eye mask. And so we traded stuff. And so it was really sweet.
That's so cute.
It was cute. And I would say, yeah, overall, like definitely like would bring some of these like comfort, cozy items with you, like what you normally would want to meditate at home with, like bring those with you.
That totally makes sense. I would have brought my Skims duvet robe. 100%.
Yes. That would have been awesome. You could have used that as like a blanket.
Or like to make the gravity chair comfier.
Yeah. I actually wish I'd brought that. That's a really good idea.
That's what I bring to the hospital to sleep on top of.
Yeah. I think for me that Skims robe is just like, it's so nice and luxurious that I don't want to ruin it.
I feel that.
But then again, I think that's what it's for.
I think so too. Okay. So that's the setup. Now tell us about, like, you land. First off, what's your travel like getting there? How did that go? How did getting from the airport to the hotel go? And then what was the registration, like, on site like?
It's a 6-hour flight from San Francisco to Cancun. I did the wheelchair. I did the pillows.
Good.
This time I opted for an aisle seat instead of what I normally do, which is window. And
why was that?
I thought it'd be better to, like, have some, like, leg space to stretch out my legs.
Makes sense.
It was easier to get up and walk around. I feel like when I'm in the window, I just don't want to bother the people.
I'm the same way.
So I just stay in my seat the whole time. So the aisle was better for me this time. I walked around like every like hour. I would say I took a little walk.
Did that help your back?
Yeah. So like honestly, like knock on wood, while I was at the retreat, I didn't have any back pain.
Wow.
Which is I mean crazy, right?
That like actually makes me want to cry. I'm so happy that you didn't have any back pain.
Yeah. And I was like pre-medicating. So that was
of course.
Maybe a part of it. But that being said, I do pre-medicate other times and I still have back pain. So
that's beautiful.
Yeah. I think that was nice. I was really able to like focus on the retreat and not my physical pain during that time. But yeah, so getting in, flight was 6 hours, pretty easy. And then just by the time I got to the hotel, checked in, was pretty exhausted.
Yeah.
Went to sleep. And then Monday was registration day. And then the event started in the evening. So go down to the arena for the registration. They have like a paper checklist of everyone's names. So they find my name and they're like, okay, you're in the pink group. So like go to the pink table. There's probably like, I think 6 different colors of groups that they had divided people in. So they gave me my lanyard, which has like a pink color to it. And then they kind of give like a little overview of like, okay, like tonight we're starting at 5 p.m. So be back by that time. And they check another list and they say, okay, like you actually need to go to another table over there. And so I was like, okay. So there's a couple of people that were like in front of me, behind me in line. So they just did their registration and then they left. And so I was like, oh, I wonder what this is. So I went to go sit over there. I assumed it was something related to like my gravity chair.
Yeah,
and
makes
them
sense.
Telling me how that would work. And so I go to that other area. And then they have chairs set up. And so I'm just sitting and there's 2 other women that are waiting there as well. And so after like 5 minutes, someone comes out from this like separate room and they're like, okay, come back with us. And so we follow her back and they have this room set up with like little pods of like 3 chairs.
Uh-huh.
And so we sit down in that chair and it's one of the volunteers that comes up to us or was guiding us. She sits us down and she says, okay, so I wanted to let you guys know that the 3 of you, you've been selected for all 3 of the Coherence Healings.
I have full body goosebumps right now. Oh
yeah.
My gosh, Biz, this is exactly what I was hoping for you.
Yeah, so one of the girls in the group just starts like
sobbing,
bawling.
I'm sure.
And like I'm like kind of like stunned, but like getting teary eyed. And we're all just like, oh my God, this is amazing. And the girl that was sobbing, she's like, she's like, in my meditations, like, this is what I saw, that I was being told that I was chosen for the Coherence Healings. That's literally giving me the chills again.
Literally chills again.
Yeah. So that was
Wow.
really awesome.
What was did you cry? Were you like, what was your reaction?
I was like teary eyed. I think what happens to me a lot, I'm noticing, is like, I don't have a reaction like super big in the moment because I'm just so like, I think I freeze. I think I'm just like,
yeah.
I can't believe this is happening.
Yeah.
But like joyful freezing.
Yes.
Like where I'm just like elated and like, but kind of like feel like I can't talk. Is what happens.
Oh my gosh.
So it was really awesome. Yeah.
I'm so this is exactly what I was hoping you would tell me. So will you share what a coherence training is, or healing is, so that the audience knows why this is like, why we're having these reactions and why this is such a big deal?
So what coherence healings are, it's like coherence being like your heart and brain are in coherence, like they're together, they're synchronized. And so what it entails, it's like a group healing. You can think of it as like an energy healing. And it'll be like a group of people around one person, transferring, radiating, creating energy that they're entering, or they're trying to put into the energy field of the person being healed.
Whoa. That sounds powerful.
Yeah, like I was the Healy, and there was probably, so at the retreat, there was like 2,200 people is what they told us.
Wow.
So, and then I think they chose about like, let's say like 150, 200 Heelys. So like 10%. They told us that. And then they give us like, on our lanyard name badges, they give us like our Healy number. Uh-huh. And so my number is 28. And so then like throughout the week, you're kind of like notified about things according to like your Healy numbers. There's a separate group chat also for Heelys that they tell you like where you need to be at what times and things like that. So
cool.
It was really cool. The Coherence Healings didn't start until Friday was the first one.
Okay.
And so it was Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Wow.
And I want to dig in. I want to like tell everyone like in detail about it.
Yes, please.
But before that, I want to talk about like the days leading up to it.
Yeah, let's do it. That sounds awesome. Set the stage a little bit for us. What were your expectations for like what the day-to-day would look like? And then when you started, so Monday, what did the day-to-day look like?
So it's interesting. They actually don't give you much information, which is, normally when you go to anything, there's like literally a schedule, like this time this happens.
Like a wedding.
Like you have, like a wedding, yeah. Like you have all of the information. So really they gave no information.
Did you like that, or did it stress you out?
I was confused because it's not normal.
No.
That being said, like everything here was so well designed and well thought out. Like it made sense that they didn't tell you much about it.
Okay.
Before going into it, because also I think one of the biggest things is like Dr. Joe doesn't really like stick to a schedule. He kind of just goes off of like the energy in the room, how he's feeling, how the group is feeling. And so to give out a schedule wouldn't make sense.
Okay.
That being said, so starting Monday, so we have like the intro session, and then we basically go into a meditation like 1 hour after a lecture.
Okay.
And so that was the first meditation. Probably ended around like 8:39 that day. And then the next day started at, I want to say 6 o'clock is when most days started. 6 a.m.
That's early.
Yeah. Which for my San Francisco body was 4 a.m. So definitely very early.
And we are girls that like to sleep in. Was that hard?
It's not even sleeping in, just sleeping.
Yeah, it's true. Just sleeping, period. So did you go to sleep? Like, how did you unwind from your day? Because these are like big days. Were you exhausted? Was it easy to fall asleep? Was it like, I have so much energy, I'm so excited, I can't fall asleep? How did you make sure to protect your sleep?
So much. And I feel like the week wasn't about sleeping, which is like
funny for a health retreat.
As much as I like love sleeping, and as much as you would think like they would try to balance, schedules and like energy levels, like I felt so energized while I was there. Like we'd start at like 6 o'clock in the morning and we'd end around like 7:30. Okay. And so what is that, like 13, 14 hours almost?
Yeah. Were you eating breakfast beforehand, like getting up at 5, or what was your routine? Yeah,
so if it started at, let's do like a typical day. So you start at 6 and then you do, it's probably like an hour and a half of a lecture of some sort. and then you do an hour and a half meditation.
Okay.
There's probably a break before the meditation, and then after the meditation, there's like another lecture for an hour. Then there's a break for breakfast, which is like an hour and a half.
Okay.
And then another lecture for an hour, hour and a half, and then another meditation for an hour and a half, and then like a 30-minute break, lecture, meditation, lunch, lecture, meditation, break, essentially.
Got it. Okay.
A
Kind
mix
of repeated
between
chunks.
Yeah, probably like three meditations a day was the average.
Okay.
And then each of those meditations being an hour and a half long.
Was that hard to go from doing 30 minutes to an hour and a half long meditations at home to, 4, 5, 6 hours of meditation a day? Or how did that feel?
I was like shocked that I was doing this. Like, I was just like, I don't know, something came over my body and my mind that I was able to do that. Also, by the way, there was one meditation on Thursday, which started at 4 a.m. It's the pineal gland meditation.
Okay. Yes.
The pineal gland is like this, it's part of your brain. So that meditation started at 4. They're very strict about it. They said, you can't leave the room during the meditation. It's going to disrupt the energy of the room. So like once you're in, you're in. If you have to go to the restroom, you're going to have to go to a separate holding room and meditate there.
Okay.
When I looked at my phone or my watch after the meditation was done, it was 9 a.m.
Whole 5 hours?
5 hours.
And it felt like 10 minutes, I bet.
It did not feel like 5 hours. But yeah, to look back, I was like, I don't know how I did that. And I don't know how these other 2,200 people, like all in one room, we did that. Like, that's crazy.
That is wild.
Can you imagine 5 hours?
No, I honestly can't.
Yeah. Like, I can't even believe that I did that.
And it wasn't hard?
It wasn't as hard as I would think it would be.
Okay. Was it distracting having a bunch of people around you?
Not really. So there was a couple of times where, like, everyone was just in there, like, no one was looking around. We all had blindfolds on for the most part.
Okay.
Or eye masks on, not blindfolds.
It's an eyes wide open kind of event.
Tomato. Eye masks on. And, I mean.
You have headphones?
No headphones because so Dr. Joe does the meditations live. So he's not hitting play or something on a recording.
I didn't realize that.
He's doing the meditations live. So he's telling you, like, close your eyes, focus on this energy center, focus on that. He's doing the whole guided meditation live there.
That is really, really cool. I didn't know that. Is he having like background music to it? Because I know like when you listen to his meditations online, there's sound frequencies going on too that help with like purifying each of these energy centers. So was that the case at the retreat too?
Yeah, there's definitely music playing. He actually has like his music producer person. He's at the retreat as well. So I don't think he was like mixing. I don't think it was like a DJ type of thing where he was mixing live.
Okay.
But he was in attendance. I'm not exactly sure what he was doing during that, but like, yeah, there's music playing.
Okay.
And it's a mix of like him, just like his meditations that are pre-recorded. It's a mix of like music and him talking.
Okay, cool.
One thing I will definitely say, so his voice, if you've listened to any of his meditations, like I wouldn't say it's soothing by any means.
He sounds kind of Darth Vader.
It's like Darth Vader. Like he's like the space and like it's just like, I mean, that was a terrible reenactment, but yeah, it's just not. It's not like a sweet feminine voice that you imagine.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. But live?
But live, it was live, and then like post retreat, I find it soothing.
Interesting. That's super helpful to like understand the flow of the week. You went by yourself though. So did you meet friends?
I did.
What was that like? Was there time to network and meet people?
Yeah. So what he does is like, so while he's giving his lectures, he'll like talk about something for like 5-6 minutes and be like, okay, turn to the person next to you and explain to them what I said.
Oh, fascinating.
And so you're constantly talking to people, and which is great. It's a great way to like meet people and have that dialogue, but also it's a great way to put it into your memory, what you learned from it. So I was taking notes, of course, because I'm a dork and I love to take notes. But a lot of people weren't taking notes. They were, I think just that immediate like ability to explain it to someone probably works for them.
Totally.
That they don't have to further write it down. I have to do both. But yeah.
I'm like you.
Yeah. No, it was great. So I think I met lots of people. I think every single interaction I had was amazing. Like there was no one I met that I was like, like don't really like them.
I love that.
Everything was just like really powerful, really like just like a strong connection.
Kismet.
I actually, yes, exactly. And I think honestly, like, I think I made a couple of best friends out of it. Like
makes me so
soul
happy.
sisters, like people that I think our souls like have met before or something,
Yeah.
because the connection was so strong. It was actually like two of them. They're actually twin sisters. They're from Minnesota, and I forgot which day we met because it's all kind of running together, but it was funny. Like one of the sisters, she was next to me, and when we did the like turn to the person next to you, we talked, and then she told me, she's like, she turned around to her twin later and was like, I found someone. And so basically yeah.
That's gonna make me cry. That's so cute.
So cute. I wish you were there because we would have been like the Fab Four.
Next time. I have a feeling that you will go again, and that we will go together and recreate this amazing experience.
Yeah. So that was awesome. And then another person that I met was, okay, so you know Joe Dispenza's like transformation stories of transformation, like the YouTube videos. So I watch a lot of those. I actually put them on during my infrared sessions when I go to sauna.
That's a great use of time.
Yeah. So there's like a couple of those people that I like kind of watch on repeat. Like their story just resonates with me. And there was one day like during one of our breaks that I was having a little snack, like having some fruit or something. And I look up and it's one of the guys from the videos that I watch. And I totally like fangirled him. Like I ran over and I was like, oh my God, you're James. Like you're in the video. Like I watched it like 30 times. I just like literally like word vomited all my things to him. And he was so sweet. He was just like, oh, that's so nice. I'm really glad, like, you know, like that was helpful to you. And then he was like, here, like take my phone number, like ask me any questions you want. And I was like, can I take a picture with you?
I have full body goosebumps again. That is like, when I close my eyes and think about what these retreats are like, I envision that it's just like universe moment.
Yeah.
And like everything that you're explaining is resonating with that kind of vision. That
like all these like synchronicities. And like,
yeah,
I even told him, I was like, I think like your video is one of the main reasons like I'm here.
Yeah.
And he was really touched by that too. But it's like, it's true.
Really
like
sweet.
him and this other video, Monique, that I had seen, like they both had like advanced stage cancers and went into remission, which is like not normal.
No.
He was also really, I asked him, I was like, how is your health now? And he said, I recently had like another tumor that's come back. But I'm not worried about it. I know it's going to be fine.
That's so cool. What's that feel like as a person going through stage 4 cancer to hear someone else have that reaction to a new tumor?
I was like, that's effing awesome. Like, that's what I want to be. You know? Like,
yeah.
And I actually like, we'll talk a little bit more about like, what am I like now, like post-retreat. But I was just like, I kind of feel that way now. Like, I'm just like, not I kind of feel that way. I do feel that way now that things are going to be okay.
I think that's such a beautiful feeling. Such a beautiful feeling. Without going to this retreat, similarly, am having that kind of outlook with this flare-up that
good.
It's just a flare-up. Yeah, it's a bad one, but like I know that I'm going to get back on the horse and that I'm going to be just fine. And I honestly chalk that up to like the energy work that you and I've been doing.
The anxiety of like the fear of like what's going to happen, I think is a lot lower now for me.
Yeah.
Than it was before.
One of my favorite quotes that I read while I was in the hospital and you were at Joe Dispenza, this is like a universe thing that I think happened, that like I got this message on my feed. And it was like, if you're going to put fear and worry into the future, which is a lot of energy, why don't you put that much energy into the opposite and for the right now? And that just like hit me.
That's
like,
awesome.
Yeah, why wouldn't I put that much energy into like the opportunity that it could be all okay?
Yeah.
I feel like you were like sending me that message from Cancun.
I totally was like thinking about you so much while I was there.
Likewise. I'm so happy that you had this. Okay, so maybe we talk about like your favorite meditation that you did while there and then your least favorite meditation that you did there. Because we'll keep it real.
Yes, that's true. Yes. So it wasn't like all perfect the whole time. So
Totally. And nothing can be. We're human.
yes. Yes. So there's 4 types of meditations that you do while you're there. There's standing, walking, sitting, and lying down.
Okay.
And so my favorite meditation was, so there's I think 3 or 4 days where we met up on the beach at 6 a.m., like 5:30, 6 a.m., and did a
So
walking
beautiful.
meditation.
Oh, to the sunrise?
The sunrise, yeah.
Oh,
Like,
my God.
my favorite one was like the first day that we did that, which I think was like Tuesday or Wednesday. It was so cool to be out there like before the sun came out.
Yeah.
And one of them was called like walking like a mystic.
Ooh.
And it was just the way, like, so you stand and you look at the sun, and then you have your eyes closed, and then he talks you through what to think, etc., and then not to think, what to feel. So, and then you open your eyes and you walk, and so you're walking along the beach. But I felt like the way I was walking, I don't think I've ever walked like that before.
Okay.
Like, I walk with this sense of like pride and purpose and like motivation. And like at some points I was like dancing and like, doing all that. And like everyone was kind of doing the same thing. Like everyone was just on this like really cool high of meditation. And it was just awesome. Like and then at the end like of that meditation, you lay down on the sand, and like just that grounding feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I laid there for like 45 minutes afterwards, like with like no music on, nothing, and just like felt like this like complete bliss.
I love that.
About life.
Do you think that you had this bliss because he guided you guys on what to be paying attention to while you were there? Or like what do you think was the catalyst for that kind of feeling?
Yeah. So I think taking it back a little bit, so what Dr. Joe describes is like you have like a think box and a play box.
Ooh,
so
okay.
like, so you're in your think box before your meditations, right? So you think about like what in life like is a gap or something that I'm missing that I want. And you think about like the intention of that, like what that item is. Like for me, obviously health is one of those things.
Yeah.
And so and then it's like defining it further. So like for me, it's like top level would be health, but like what are like some sub intentions for that? So like for me, it's like, no longer having lesions in my liver, no longer having metastases on my bones, having clear scans, and not having pain. So those are like the things that like I want. And then you in your think box, you associate like what are some elevated emotions that you would feel if those things were true. And for me, it's like a love for life, like complete gratitude, thankfulness, and like feeling inspired or motivated. And so that's like your think box. So then when you get into your play box, which is like when the meditation starts, you don't think anymore. You're just like focusing on breath and energy and getting like coherence between your brain, your heart, and the different energy centers. Yeah. So that's kind of how you go about it. Are you crying, Levy?
I am, because this is so beautiful. I'm just so happy that you had this experience, and like it feels very real that this is going to be something that's with you for your whole life and like guide you.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever like felt something like this before.
It makes me so happy.
Aww,
you deserve this so much. Thank you, so much. Okay, so tell me about like how do I align all of this?
Yes. So breath work is a big part of Dr. Joe's teaching. So in our body, we've got 7 energy centers. The first one being I'm going to butcher the pronunciation of these things, perineum, which is like down where like your reproductive organs are.
Okay. Like your kind of root.
Yeah, your root essentially. And then from there you go upwards. Like you've got 2, which is like behind your belly button. 3 is right above it.
Okay.
4 is your heart. 5 is your throat. 6 is your pineal gland, which is like your third eye essentially.
Okay.
Yeah. And then 7. So did I say third or sixth?
6. This is 7.
Yeah, 6 is your third eye, your pineal gland, and then 7 is like the top of your head.
Your crown chakra.
Yes. And then 8 is like your aura energy around you.
Got
so
it. Okay.
What you really work on during this retreat is like your breath, right? So you're taking, I think other breath work is different that I've experienced. So this is like you're taking energy from energy center 1 and bringing it upwards.
And that's like belly breathing engages that, right?
Yeah, and even further than that, it's like your reproductive organ area.
Okay.
So like taking that breath and then like guiding it upwards.
I love it. And are you doing that like you're visualizing essentially this energy moving upwards?
For me, I do visualize it. I don't think it's like the same for everyone, but like yeah, so like for me, I imagine like kind of like grabbing air and bringing it into energy center 1, and then from there I like pull back my belly button and like bring my belly button towards my spine, and that helps bring it upwards there. And then I kind of like, to get it from like 2 and 3 upwards to like 4, 5, and 6, I like lower my shoulders, and it kind of feels like it's like pushing upwards from there. So
cool. I love that. I learned about this kind of breath work reading a book, because I'm a weirdo, about ancient Egypt. And so when I do my breath work and chakra healing, I imagine like this swirling white light in my root that like crosses over, there's like 2 strands, and it crosses in between each energy section and then comes up to the crown and then spills out and circles back in through the 8th energy kind of orbit around us.
That's awesome. Yeah.
It's helped.
That's perfect. Yeah.
Very cool. So cool. So he guides you to do this, and then what does your body feel like when you're kind of in that flow of going?
So the goal essentially is to get like, he says like your body should be asleep and your mind should be awake. Okay. So when we think of like brainwave patterns, like when we're awake, we're in like beta or alpha, which are like the highest ones, beta, alpha. And then like when and that's all considered like your conscious mind. Okay. And then your subconscious mind is like a little bit of alpha and then goes downwards into like theta, delta, gamma. Cool. And so you want to be in theta. You want to be in theta when you're doing your meditations. Like you want to get to that like kind of like lucid flow where like, your body is sleeping, your mind is awake. And that's where like you can create essentially.
Ooh, okay. This is so cool.
Yeah. And for a lot of us, like, so like when we're in like high anxiety or just like life in general, we kind of live in this like high beta state.
That makes sense.
And so when you're in that, like that's not a time to create, right? Like your body is in like fight or flight. And so it's not a time for your body to create anything or think of new realities. I'm trying to think of like things that he said that really like jump out at me. And one of them is like, your personality is your personal reality. And does your personal reality create your personality, or does your personality create your personal reality?
Ooh.
Does that make any sense?
Kind of. Walk me through it more.
Your personal reality is like things that are happening to you day to day, right?
Yes.
And those like thoughts and beliefs, essentially what he says is like, are this, for most of us, like the same day after day, right? So like
totally,
we basically just repeat the same behaviors. We don't really do much like creative work within our bodies and ourselves.
Very like you're just kind of like in and out.
Yeah. So 5%, only 5% of your mind is conscious. 95% of your mind by the time you're 30, 35 years old is subconscious.
Holy cow.
We're just like running on repeat, right? Like think about like when you get up in the morning, you get up, you go to the restroom, you brush your teeth, like you're having your coffee. Before you know it, you're in the car going to work. Like,
creatures of habit.
Those aren't even things that you are thinking about. You're just your body just does them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so a lot of his work is about teaching like becoming conscious of your subconscious mind. So
cool. That makes sense. Like
becoming aware,
overcoming our habits that we're kind of we programmed for ourselves.
Yeah. And to overcome, you have to first become aware of them.
Okay, that makes sense. That totally makes sense. Like accepting our humanism.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So you become aware of what you're doing, and then when you're aware, then you can think of other realities. So in the quantum field, all realities exist. all possibilities exist.
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so when you meditate and you get your mind into theta, you try to essentially get to like current like physics. The way it works is like you're at a place in a time, right?
Yes.
So
Newtonian
place
physics.
and time. Yeah. So like that's where you are. But to get to quantum physics, you want to be like nowhere, no time, no body, no thing, like nothing.
Got it. Makes sense.
So like when you close your eyes and you like slow down your brain waves, you want to get to this place of nothingness.
Okay, cool. Do you feel like that was hard to learn how to do, or did that come naturally with the guidance?
I don't think it's easy, but I think with the guidance, like if you can definitely get there. Like I definitely feel like all 2,200 of those people were getting it. Like I don't
Cool.
think people were lost and confused. Like he does such a good job of guiding you and giving you the science and the data and showing you brainwave patterns and, you know, high beta versus like a theta brainwave. And so when you have all those visualizations, then when you start your meditations, those like you can kind of imagine like where you are.
That makes sense.
Because you have that visual to look at.
And his like lectures, I would assume, kind of help overcome any limiting beliefs that you might have held beforehand. Did you have any that, you know, you were kind of back pocket like, I don't know, that part seems a little woo-woo. I'm not quite sure I, you know, sign on to that.
I think so. I think like this, you know, I don't think I'm a skeptic, but I'm just always kind of like, you know, like a lot of people do teach. Yeah, a lot of people do teach like the woo-woo, like be one with yourself, blah, 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 like that stuff, right? Which is all nice, but I like the data. And so he has like on his team, he's got PhDs, MDs, scientists, researchers. And so one of the things that really pushed it over the edge for me on believing this is that he, on his research team, he works with UCSD, San Diego. And so they have like a whole research center that they work with now. And so, one of the scientists from there, he did like, I think probably like 3 different lectures. Like he was zooming in. And
Whoa, that's so cool.
Yeah. So he was like sharing with us data that's like not yet published, like not available to the public, but he was like, we're sharing this within this room. You obviously can't disclose it or discuss it later. But to give like some of the stuff that they showed, I was just like, I can't wait for like the world to see this.
I'm so
because
excited.
It's so powerful, and they just like these people just need, you know, they need to like just get their funding and get finished up doing it, and so that they can start sharing it. But no, the science that they showed is like very much there. Like this is real. Like I think maybe going into it I was like 80-20 onto like, yes, this is something, and maybe not. And then now I'm like 100%. Like
that's so cool.
I know that people can heal themselves with this work.
That's so powerful. That's so powerful.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's time. Tell me about the coherence trainings and healings.
I'm a little bit like confused where to start because like so much happens, but so there's three coherence healings. One was on Friday, one was Saturday, one was Sunday.
Okay.
The Friday one, so I lined up, I was given, since I had a zero gravity chair, there was a separate area for us. And so you get set up in your chair, and then the room is basically restaged from the original setting to like pods of 8 people. Okay. So there's 8 chairs in like a kind of like a circle, oval set up around either a blank spot on the floor where people can lay, or where a gravity chair is sitting.
Got it. Okay.
And so you get set up in your chair or on the floor, and you're laying down. They put like a white blanket over you, which is a little bit like trippy because it, you know, seemed a little bit dark almost, but also very like hospital-y / like death. Yeah. But also felt like a new beginning, if that makes sense.
Maybe like death.
So I think
of
it
the
felt
old
like
version of you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so then like they open up the doors, and the 2,000 healers come in. So the healers are the people in the center, and then the healers are the people surrounding them. Wow. So those people walk in. My first coherence healing on Friday, I had my my eye mask on the whole time.
Uh-huh.
So I didn't see them come in, and I didn't see any one of my healers before it started.
Okay.
And so I varied the approach for the different healings. So that was the first one.
Okay.
And I would say in that one, then like Dr. Joe does his like guiding, and essentially like what you do is like the healers are rubbing their hands together.
Okay.
And then they pull them apart. And then, you know, like, have you ever
Like
done this as a child?
energy?
Creating energy. Yeah. So exactly. Just like that. So you do that, and then you turn your hands, the healers turn their hands towards the Heelys, and Dr. Joe's like doing the meditation. Essentially what you're doing is like, imagine like an energy field around the Healy, like, so like floating around me.
Okay.
And then these healers are putting their energy field into it to try to disrupt my energy field.
So to like allow for the entrance of new energy.
Exactly.
Cool. Okay.
Yes. So the first one, I think I felt really cold during it.
Interesting.
Like I felt like this like full body like chill, and I felt like tingling running up my feet to my head.
Fascinating.
It was really cool. It was different. But and then I'm trying to think of what else. And then I saw some visions of like childhood for me.
Interesting.
Before it started, I think I felt nervous. I didn't know what to expect.
That makes sense.
And yeah, like it was just kind of like, I don't know. I think some of this stuff, it does feel a little bit like it's like you're in a trance, and that feeling can be a little bit startling if you're not used to it.
That makes sense.
And so, yeah, so I felt a little bit nervous going into it. And then afterwards so I felt this like a lot of energy, like tingling up my body. I felt really cold, and my heart felt bigger than normal. Like the size of it felt
I know that
a little
feeling.
larger.
Like,
but yeah, I would
heavy,
say,
but in a good way.
yes, exactly. And so that was healing one. And then after, like when it was over, I took off my eye mask and kind of just like looked around and like told everyone thank you. Of course, I'm just like my people pleasing will like not stop.
Thank you all for being here.
Thank you for being here. And I think like some people gave me a hug. And also like one thing that's really cool is like these coherence healings are not just beneficial for the healee, it's also beneficial for the healer.
Ooh,
like you can heal yourself by healing someone else.
That makes sense because you're just channeling
because
that kind of energy.
That energy is like all around. And
makes
so
sense.
I think there's a couple people in my group that were like crying and sobbing, like they were having their own experiences as well. So that was cool. Coherence healing number 2, that's where things got interesting.
Okay.
So that was on Saturday. So by that point, my new friends, Megan and Rachel, the twins, like we had already like figured out like we're soulmates. Like this is not just like a coincidence that we've met each other.
No.
This is like there's a purpose and reason. And so they were channeling, manifesting that they wanted to be in my Coherence Healing group. And so the way like it was set up though is like it was random. You just line up outside and then they tell you like where to go sit. There's no like way you can really, be in someone's group.
Force the system.
Yeah. And so what happened is like when we were lining up to enter the room, the Heelys, they were like, why don't we just like come stand with you and like see if like we can just say like we're helping you.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, let's try it out. So we did that. We get to the front, of course, as usual, like there's a bunch of rules and they're like, no, like you can't have someone with you. And so they're twins, right? And so the lady at the door, she was also a twin. And so they had spoken to her before, like the volunteer. And so they were like, listen, like, we're kind of just one person. Like she's allowed one helper. Like we have the same DNA. We're technically one person.
I love that.
It was really funny. And so the twin volunteer was just like, okay, whatever. And so they let them in with her. But then there's another volunteer that was like trying to stop them. And so I went to my chair, sat down, but somehow they were able to manage to convince this lady that they're going to come help me. So we get to my coherence chair. And I think Megan's like helping me like get situated, put my pillows on, like put my blanket, get my socks on. And Rachel was actually being really sweet and helping this other woman who didn't have a helper with her.
Oh.
And something really interesting happened. So
Okay.
Megan's like helping me put on my socks. And I was like, no, I can do it. And she like, she's like, no, I'm happy to do it. So she's like rolling up my socks. And I was like, oh, that's actually like, just reminds me of how my dad used to put on my socks when I was younger.
Oh.
And she was like, and their dad had passed away recently. And she was like, I was just thinking the same thing. She's like, this is how our dad would put on our socks for us. And she like blew into the socks and then put them on. And she's like, and this is how he would do it. It would like warm up the socks so that your feet aren't cold.
I'm going to cry.
And I was like, yeah, it gave me the chills.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So they were able to be in my Coherence Healing group. And then like the other 6 people came in. And what I had done this time around is that I had decided I wanted to write a little note to the people in my group to kind of let them know like who I am and like, you know, what's going on with me, because I felt like the first time I didn't feel as connected to my healers. And so I wanted to do a little bit of something else. And so
cool, Biz.
Yes, I wrote a little note. Let me actually read it to you. So I had written my name, Bisma, age 36, diagnosis stage 4 breast cancer. And I wrote, I am a wife, a daughter, a sister, an aunt, a best friend. And then below that, I'd written, my body was diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer last year while I was pregnant with our first child. I lost the baby and the ability to ever have my own children. My body has tumors in my liver and lesions all over my spine, ribcage, pelvis, an entire chest cavity. And then I wrote, thank you so much for being my healer. Let's do this. And so Megan and Rachel, like they were like, she wants us to read this before we start. So they passed the note around the little group. And I had kept my eye mask off that time. So I had like looked around at everyone and kind of like, I was like, okay, like we're doing this together.
Yeah. Connected.
So I felt like that was great, like marching orders for everyone. Like we all knew why we were there. And everyone was like, okay, let's do this. There's like this like trance music that's being played, and most people at this, after they read the note, people have their blindfolds, eye masks on, so everyone's kind of in their zone then.
Got it.
And so I did not put on an eye mask that time. I kept it off, but I closed my eyes.
Okay.
So there was just I just didn't feel like being like that closed off this time. I wanted to be a little bit more present.
That
like,
makes sense.
Physically.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so then it started, and I'll walk you through like kind of what I experienced during it. These healings are probably like, let's say like 40, 45 minutes long. Okay. And during that time, I felt really good as far as like my breath, and I felt like I had gone into that theta brainwave space. So my body felt like it was asleep. My mind felt like it was awake. And it was just like that perfect in between where I felt like I can create during this time.
Yes.
When the healing started, I'd say like there's 2 components. There was like the physical effects that I was feeling, and then like kind of like the emotions or memories or just visions that I was having.
Yes. Okay.
So physically, I again felt this like tingling run up my body. But I didn't feel cold this time. I actually felt quite like warm and like coddled, like kind of like a hug.
Interesting.
This hugging sensation. And then my heart felt like at points it felt so large and so big that it like it felt like my heart was like, or like my chest cavity was like a foot off of my actual chest.
Whoa.
And like my heart was like filling that entire area.
That was so cool.
It was really cool. And then I would say like the visions I was having, it felt like this like memory reel started like playing in my head. So it was like, I had this like vision of my parents being really young. Like they were like, I don't know, like 25, 26 years old, like young. And like, it was like these like photos, you know, those like photos from the 80s that have like the rounded edges.
I love those.
Like
yes.
I started seeing a bunch of those. So it was like pictures of them together before I knew them or before they had kids. And then it was like pictures of them like moving to America and like leaving their whole life behind, and like us being born, and like just like little snippets of memories of like childhood and like closeness and unity were like kind of the themes that I was feeling. So
beautiful. Wow.
Yeah.
Mostly
and then
just
I had
like family, like
yeah. So then it was like
or...
mainly family,
Okay.
and then I started having like a couple of like flashes of images of my first husband and like when we first met. Whoa. And kind of this like really nice like sweet memories of just different things. And then there was like this blip of like heartache that came. But it didn't feel like overwhelming. It kind of just felt like a blip of like it was heartache, and then it went back to happiness. And when I like thought about it in that moment, I was like, okay, like I feel okay is how I felt. Like, okay, like that happened, but like these are the good memories. And like, then I felt fine. And then I started having more visions of like my current life, like of my husband and my friends and family. And it just felt really like, I would say that aspect of it felt very like euphoric.
Do you feel like you had a release, like almost like a forgiveness and release of like that era in your life?
Yeah. It felt like that little, like that marriage reel was a closing.
And then like gratitude for the life it's now opened up for you to have left.
Exactly. That's a really nice way to put it. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. I love this. Okay.
Yeah. So I just felt very like happy, and my chest was just coming, my heart was just like coming out of my chest. And then there were like some memories of like getting diagnosed that were popping up into my head. And those also didn't feel sad though. They felt, I don't want to say closure, but like maybe like a little bit of just like an ending of that.
Maybe like an ending of the grieving process of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see that.
Okay.
And physically at some point I started feeling like because my heart was feeling so inflated and large, like I felt like I was in like a balloon, like come off of my chair. Whoa. And so I found myself like holding onto the chair arms, and then Megan and Rachel had like one hand like on the chair, and so I grabbed both of their hands, and apparently I was squeezing really hard, but I felt like I was like holding on so that I didn't like fly off of the chair.
Whoa.
Yeah. Whoa. It was crazy. It was really crazy. And at some point, like I think they had grabbed like the people next to them their hands, so people kind of had like a hand, like holding a chain, someone's hand, and then like a hand on me. And it was just like such high intensity, high energy. And when the meditation ended, I said, we did it. And this one woman in the group, she hugged me and she said, don't be scared. And I said, I'm not anymore.
That's so beautiful. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was wild. And then another interesting thing, like one of the guys in the group, everyone at this point is just like hugging and crying. Like there's like so many emotions happening. Yeah. And this one guy, he said, he's like, I'm 36 as well. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And he's like, oh, we just had a daughter. And I was like, oh, that's so nice. And I was like, I'm just curious, like when was she born? How old is she? And he's like, September of last year, which is when my due date was. And I was like, oh, September what? And he said September 8th is when she was born. And I was like, oh, my due date was like September 9th or 10th.
Whoa.
So that was really random and interesting at the same time.
I fully believe that like these babies that are lost before they're born are spirit babies, and they just go to some other family. I truly do believe that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, and also, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting one of the main parts. So in my or in the Coherence Healing, like one of the visions I had after like about like my current life, it kind of like glittered into like this other vision, which was me in my driveway. I got out of my car, and then I opened the back door, and there's a baby in a car seat. It's an Asian baby, like East Asian little girl. And I pick her up and I take her inside my house. And then the next little vision I have is like me standing in front of our deck holding the baby. My husband's next to me, and all of our friends and family are like surrounding us. Like it looks like God. It's like her birthday or something. I'm wearing a really cute white. Yeah, I'm wearing a really cute white dress, and like she has this like, you know what, with babies you put when you like make their hair and they have short hair that makes a little like umbrella,
Yes,
not
it's
umbrella, like
so
a little
cute.
palm tree.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so that's what she had, which is how my mom used to make my hair when I was a baby.
Oh.
And I think that's when I like had come out of, that was like the last thing I saw before I came out of the meditation.
Wow.
But it just felt really euphoric. I think that's the word I would use, like a legit high is what I felt.
Oh my gosh. Well, I can't wait to live that vision that you had, because I know it's going to happen.
Yeah, it just felt so real and so much happiness. I don't think I've ever felt that like elation feeling like that.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel like a dream. It felt real.
Just because it was real. Like, that's the thesis of quantum physics, is those things and experiences when you're at those brain waves and states are a reality.
Yeah, like that's a reality that exists in the quantum.
Yeah.
And I was able to like see it and witness it, and now it's just about getting that to become my personal reality now.
Yeah, it's here now. Wow, that is, I like am speechless because it's so like shocking but makes sense. I have so many like emotions listening to you experiencing this. Yeah, and I can like see you there. It sounds like you were like levitating. It's so cool.
Yeah, like I definitely felt like if I hadn't held on, I would have moved.
You transcended.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so after that healing's done and you go back to your hotel room later that day.
Yeah.
Did you feel like a different you? Like, was that the kind of pivot transition point, do you think?
I think that was definitely like I feel like the old, or like the Bisma like we've all known and like that I've been living, like I feel like that person, that book, not that chapter's closed, like that book is closed.
I love
and
that.
I feel like the person I was afterwards, after that healing, the person that I am now is a different person. I don't know if that sounds like cheesy or silly, but like I feel that I am a different person.
And that's all that matters. Like, these kind of moments and events in our lives are up to us to accept that they can totally destroy and rebuild who we are. And you wrote me an email and a text after you finished your week, and you said, I can't wait for you to meet the new me. The old Bisma's gone. And I just remember being like, I know it. I know it. And even talking to you right now, like, I can see it. You are like lighter. You seem so much more at ease. Like, the gratitude is like, I can literally feel your gratitude across the Zoom.
I love that.
I love that too. I'm so glad that you had this. Okay, so then going into the next, like your final healing, how did you approach that differently? What were your goals? What was that?
Well, it's actually, so I was like, I don't even want a third one, because like
this was,
I was like,
what I wanted.
I don't want to like somehow ruin the second one, and then I was like, well, like maybe I can transfer it to someone, like someone else could have a healing.
That's really pretty.
So I was thinking through all those things, and then I think something just at some point clicked that, and Dr. Joe talks about this, like you may not necessarily have a moment like that in your coherence healing. It may be something that like a couple days, a month, whatever, some point, like something will happen at some other point.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily like an immediate energy change. And so I was like, I'll just have the third healing. I won't have many expectations of it.
Yeah.
I won't be negative about it either, of course. So I was like, I'll just, this is an opportunity that is given to me, and I want to, I'm grateful for it, and I want to, finish it off in the way it was intended to be.
And there was a reason that you were getting this third healing.
Yeah. And I would say the third healing was good. It wasn't as emotional as healing number 2, but it also just felt like, it kind of felt like the first healing in my new body is how it felt.
That's so cool. Okay. So what was that like then?
It felt more like, it feels like my new body doesn't have trauma. And so it wasn't like a healing where I was like thinking or like thoughts of like the past or anything was coming. It was kind of like a blank canvas.
Cool.
So overall, super cool. Like just such a like, even talking about it, it feels like I'm just so glad that we have this platform to be able to share this story on, because I hope it gives people hope, and I hope it gives people an outlet for, you know, being able to change their life and being able to change their reality. And
absolutely,
all these realities exist in the quantum world, in the quantum field, and we just have to go find them. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Not So Sick Chicks. Remember, new episodes drop every Monday.
subscribe and rate 5 stars, and of course, send this to a friend who is a sick chick trying to be a little less sick. We're all in this together.
Follow us on socials at the Not So Sick Chicks.
And we'll see you next week.